Justice was not served today, which we already knew. I was prepared, my son was prepared. It's not easy when there is evidence hidden. It was impossible for the jury to give my son a fair trial. I just learned days before this trial that Ella was shot in the back of the head. 2 years ago, I told his defense she was shot in the back of the head. I was told I was delusional, that I was wrong. Well, turns out I was right. She was shot in the back of the head. And in the body-worn camera, it is impossible for Ella to have hit by the bullets from the vehicle that my son was in while he was being attacked by Carlos Yanez. It was impossible for him to be shot, given the positions of her and my son and Yanez. This is a cover-up, point blank, period. And I do believe that my son will receive justice. I will not stop. I will continue to fight for my son's justice. I will continue to advocate for people who have been victims of this corrupt judicial system. I will continue to advocate for those of lower socioeconomic statuses. We did not receive justice today. You guys, they serve somebody guilty that's actually innocent. And I am hurting right now, but I believe and I have full faith that my son will receive justice one day. Thank you.
You have nothing to say, but I believe, I know in my heart, and I know my grandson is innocent. And these police need to start being held accountable for their crookedness. Thank you, that's all I have.
Finally, we get a little justice for Ella, Carlos, and Josh. I'd like to thank the Cook County State's Attorney, Assistant State's Attorneys for their hard work putting this case together and making sure that every angle was covered, every hypothetical, made-up defense was covered, and we can move on and kind of focus on life after this now. It'll never be the same for Elizabeth. It'll never be the same for the Yanez family or the Bloss family or this department in reality. That's just a sad thing, but I would just make a note here. This is one first-degree murder conviction. There should have been a second one, but unfortunately, politicians down in Springfield passed the Safety Act, which eliminated felony murder, or Eric Morgan would also be facing life in prison for a first-degree murder charge. But 5 weeks prior, the politicians down in Springfield thought it was a smart thing to do to get rid of felony murder. Pretty sad, but this was the first example of how errant that decision was to push that policy going forward. I know there's a lot of allegations by the defense. They couldn't have been more contrived and made up. They were almost fairy tale-ish in many ways. I'm glad the jury saw through that and did the right thing as promptly as they did. I think it was a good example of how weak the defense was from the beginning. But like I said in the afternoon, if you don't have a defense, you have to just make anything up, and they kind of saw right through that. So, have we got any questions? Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Commander Bryan Spreyne. I'm currently the commander of the 8th District. During this incident in 2021, I was a lieutenant in the unit of CST where Ella, Carlos, and Josh worked. It's been a very trying week for the families of these members. It's been a very trying week for the Chicago Police Department, the City of Chicago, its residents. We all hurt through this incident, and this is one step closer. As mentioned earlier, this was a trial. It was a jury trial of his peers. They saw the evidence that was presented, and they returned with a guilty verdict. So for that, I'm grateful. I'm grateful to see that this happened for the police department. This is one step closer to closure and moving forward. Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm joined here with our trial team who did excellent service on behalf of not only the families of Ella French and Officer Yanez, but on behalf of the people of Cook County, Scott Clark, Emily Stevens, Katie Seifert, and I'm also joined by our Chief Deputy, Thor Martin. We are incredibly gratified by the jury's verdict today, but it is difficult to feel anything other than sadness about the senseless murder of a Chicago police officer killed in the line of duty, who laid her life on the line on behalf of the people of Cook County, who did an incredibly dangerous job only to have it struck down in senseless violence, to the damage that has been done to the body of Officer Yanez, and what it means for him and his family moving forward, having to give up a job that he loved, serving people, again, risking his life on all of our behalves. While this is a victory, it is very difficult to feel just, because justice would be Ella French being able to be with her family and continuing to serve the people of Cook County. Justice would be Victor Yanez being able to walk with the same abilities that he had before. However, this team in this office has been committed to ensuring that those who commit violent acts like the acts that killed Ella French are held accountable, and the brilliant, dedicated attorneys of the Cook County State's Attorney's Office delivered on their oath and their promise on behalf of the people of Cook County. And for that, we are incredibly thankful. I'm incredibly thankful for this team. Not standing with us at this moment are our incredible victim witness staff, led by Jill Thornton, also Terry Durkin, and Marla Munoz, who's been with this family, these families, during the course of the last several years, walking them through what is a slow and grieving process. But we believe that the verdicts that were rendered today were just. And while it is just a small step in the measure for recovery for these families, we are grateful for their service, and I'm incredibly grateful and humbled by the service of the Assistant State's Attorneys and victim witness staff who brought us here today. With that, I'll take your questions.
Ms. Foxx, do you want to comment on the FOP president's comment that Eric Morgan should have been charged with first-degree murder?
What I'm going to comment on, Eric, is that a just verdict was rendered today in which that the person who shot and killed Ella French was convicted of first-degree murder today. That's what I'll comment on. Any other questions? Thank you.